Artificial general intelligence, or AGI, is defined as a system that can demonstrate any cognitive capacity that humans possess. Therefore, since the inception of DeepMind, we have been interested in developing general artificial intelligence, or AGI. That was always the goal. In fact, back in the 1950s, that was the original goal of the area of artificial intelligence. We're sort of living out that big dream along the road, in a way. These broad methods can be applied to specific problem-solving situations. Because of what it can achieve, AlphaFold is an excellent example of a topic that is well-defined and of great importance to society in and of itself. In this case, biology and medical research. Therefore, the techniques you employ are not really important. You only need to start with the generic methods and then add certain specializations. Neural networks and all the methods we develop for our games are still used, and some new features tailored to proteins are included. Naturally, we have been improving our general AI methods at the same time. This is evidently in the realm of language, but more recently, multimodal foundational models have been developed that are able to process images, videos, and sound in addition to understanding language and playing games. These models are also capable of comprehending the entire spatial context of the world in which you are situated. I've spent my whole life and career working on AI and AGI because I think it will be the most useful technology ever created if it is implemented correctly and ethically. In 10 or more years, I believe we will be able to use it for a variety of purposes, such as finding or creating new energy sources, such as fusion ideal batteries, or new materials like superconductors, and possibly even using AI to cure all diseases. I believe that artificial intelligence, AI, will help solve some of the most pressing issues facing our civilization now, such as sickness and the climate. Therefore, I believe that if we fast forward 10 years, we will be in a world where humans are thriving to the fullest extent possible, exploring the stars with all the technology that artificial intelligence will help create. Look, science fiction has written a lot about the worst case scenario. I believe my two biggest concerns are, first, if applied properly, artificial intelligence, AI, has the potential to be a wonderful technology. However, it has two uses and is incredibly strong. It's going to have incredible power. However, it implies that bad actors or would-be bad actors might use such technology for other potentially dangerous purposes. One of the major problems facing our field and society is how to allow the good actors to use these technologies to accomplish amazing things like curing terrible diseases while preventing the would-be bad actors, from individuals to rogue nations, from using them. It's a really challenging puzzle to solve. As the technology gets more autonomous and agent-based, which is what will happen over the next few years, since they will be more valuable for all the beneficial reasons, the second factor is the risk of AGI itself. However, how can we make sure that we can continue to manage such systems, interpret their actions, comprehend them, and put in place the appropriate safeguards that cannot be moved by extremely powerful self-improving systems? The challenge is also quite challenging. Those are the two primary risk categories. I believe we will have this fantastic future if we can get them properly. However, this is hardly the worst case situation. What would the worst case scenario entail? There are a lot of detrimental use cases for these systems, in my opinion, if you get that incorrect. This may include accomplishing the exact opposite of what we're attempting to do, such as discovering remedies, or using those same systems to discover poisons and other such things. Therefore, in many instances, all of the positive use cases would result in negative scenarios if the system's objectives were reversed. And as a society, we must, which is why I have advocated for international collaboration in this regard, because the systems, no matter where or how they are constructed, will be dispersed globally. They will have an impact on everyone, almost everywhere in the world. Therefore, I believe that we need some form of worldwide standards regarding the design and aims that we give these systems, how they are implemented, and how they are used. At this time, the dangers are unclear. There are many people on both sides of that debate, including my coworkers and well-known Turing Award winners. Some, like Jan LeCun, would argue that this is just hype and that there is no danger. Then there are those like Yoshua Bengio and Jeff Hinton who believe that we are doomed by default. These are all folks I know extremely well. I believe that somewhere in the center is the correct response. There are intelligent individuals on both sides of the argument. That indicates to me that we still don't have enough information to accurately estimate the danger. As we continue to create these systems, it may turn out that they are far simpler to align or maintain control over than we initially anticipated. Many things have so far worked out that way. They've been simpler than people anticipated, such as making them helpful to the world. All it takes is a little RLHF fine tuning on top of these models, and they're suddenly valuable chatbots. That's intriguing then. Things could be a little bit simpler than some of the most gloomy thinkers thought, according to some research. However, I think there is still a lot of danger, and we need to thoroughly study it to determine its exact nature. What you're going to hear from the former CEO of Google doesn't fall on the thin line that separates a prediction from a warning. Rather, it crosses it, blows past it, and puts us in a realm that most people don't even want to consider. Because if Eric Schmidt is correct, we are moving toward a post-human future rather than one driven by artificial intelligence. To give that some time to settle. The robots we created are beginning to outthink us, not gradually, not someday, but already. Even though everyone is still wondering if AI will replace us in our professions, Schmidt is posing a much more troubling query. What will happen if it no longer requires humans? That's a prediction. These systems are now recursively improving themselves by writing their own code. This implies that without human involvement, every version improves. Evolution is this. AI is learning on its own more quickly than we can understand. Thus, we are no longer teaching it how to operate. What's the actual risk? We continue to act as though we are in command. We aren't making tools. Our systems are capable of planning, reasoning, inventing, and solving problems better than the most proficient people in a variety of domains, including mathematics, programming, biology, medicine, architecture, and engineering. AI was supposed to specialize. It's generalizing now. In every way, it is becoming the best. And time is all it takes to do it. Schmidt refers to it as superintelligence. And he's talking about a change that would render humans less useful as the world's primary issue solution. The timeframes weren't the most eerie aspect of Schmidt's warning. It wasn't predicted that within a year, AI will surpass programmers. It wasn't even about AI creating new medications overnight or running automated wet laboratories while people slept. It was this: the future cannot be described in words. We lack the cultural knowledge, legal system, and mental framework necessary to comprehend what is going to occur. Our leaders are playing catch up in a race they have no idea where they are in. Our institutions are too sluggish, and our policies are out of date. We get along, we marvel at chatbots and chuckle at AI jokes. However, something is happening behind the scenes that will not slow down because it can't. Autonomous systems, self-improvement cycles, and agents that can construct, test, hire, fire, and transact without consulting a human. At this point, we must stop asking, can AI do what we do, and begin addressing the more pressing question, what will happen to us when it can do more, that is, quicker, less expensive, and unapproved? When robots come up with greater ideas than humans, what happens to creativity? When AI has access to more knowledge than any instructor could provide, what will happen to knowledge? When an algorithm can make judgments more effectively than a politician, what happens to leadership? You may feel the weight of this without becoming anti-AI. You just must be truthful. Since we are no longer the only ones creating intelligence, we are not prepared for this pace, this magnitude, and most definitely not for what will happen when intelligence itself turns into a commodity. In our lifetimes, artificial intelligence, AI, is undoubtedly a danger to human security, and I was really motivated by that one. Okay. Making a film like this wasn't what I'd anticipated, but after hearing what